Hello, my name is Naila. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at McGill University in the Biot Lab and an associated researcher with CRITAC at the National Circus School. And I'm very honored to have an opportunity to present some of my current lines of research. But before I dive in, I'd like to share a little bit of my academic background and how I went from studying circuits, specifically motor circuitry, to the circus. So during my PhD, I studied Parkinson's disease, and at that time, I started almost every presentation off with this iconic image of the first clinical description of Parkinson's disease and the cardinal motor symptoms in humans. That said, I was far removed from humans. I spent 6 years peering down a microscope at striatal neurons. And specifically, I was studying a genetic mouse model of Parkinson's disease and how some of the motor circuitry and the basal ganglia circuitry more generally is affected by the LRRK2 mutation. So at the end of my PhD, I produced a lot of complex diagrams such as this one. And this might be legible to fellow neuroscientists studying synaptic transmission and Parkinson's disease, but it really likely is difficult to understand for other academic circles, even within neuroscience, let alone a more general audience. So at the end of my PhD, I was really concerned with this question, firstly, of how we communicate our scientific research to the people that we're trying to help with our research and a more broad audience, but also how we can bring the knowledge from lived experience, in this case, lived experience of Parkinson's, back into our research. At the same time, I was dabbling a lot with dance and circus, and I was really interested in this question of how movement and music can bring to life complex scientific information, including signaling cascades in the brain or abstract concepts, but can also represent the emotional and subjective experience of illness. And so I started a little group called Peace of Mind. And at the end of my PhD, this was really a side project. We would meet once every couple weeks in a studio and just explore how movement, music could be used to communicate scientific research. And that brought us to the question of integrating people with Parkinson's disease directly as well. So that's what I did for my postdoc. It was a stark transition from my PhD research. So during my postdoc, I did an arts-based knowledge translation project in which we brought together people affected by Parkinson's disease or Alzheimer's and dementia, neuroscientists and performing artists. And the goals were firstly to facilitate knowledge exchange and empathy through participatory arts, and secondly, to co-create performances based on lived experience and scientific research in order to engage audiences on an emotional and intellectual level. So this occurred during COVID. While my initial plan was to have everyone gather in the same room, we ended up all on the same Zoom. And we spent a lot of time just exploring and being silly, just kind of creating a relationship online with very different, we were very different people coming in. And so a lot of the time was spent in movement, but then we also had discussions around the scientific research, the lived experience, and what we wanted to communicate through the performances. And then the artists, the performers brought this into a 1 month residency. So we worked for a whole month to produce two performances, so one on Parkinson's disease and the other on dementia. The two performances are available online for free on YouTube. They're about 45 minutes in length and they're bilingual with subtitles. Both performances were filmed by Naomi Silver Vezina, and the Parkinson's performance was co-directed by Jérémy Robert. The dementia one was co-directed by Jennifer Lecoyer. And here are just a couple images as a preview of what these performances are. So they're very different despite having the same performers. Because we were looking at two different conditions, the results were very different. And because the artistic direction was also quite unique in both of these cases. So that brought me to working with CRITAC, which is the Center for Research, Innovation, and Knowledge Transfer in the Circus Arts, and that is at the National Circus School here in Montreal. And the mission of CRITAC is to advance human potential and performance through applied research and innovation in order to support the socioeconomic development of Quebec. There are several areas of focus. So of course, we're interested in studying the body and movement capacity, but we're also interested in the psychological elements of performance, so resilience, motivation, and confidence, for example, as well as social circus, so the interaction between the circus arts with the environment and the community, and creativity, the birth of an idea, its evolution, the ability to innovate and adapt to new performance circumstances and opportunities. So there's a wide range of applications in this research that we're exploring, including technical innovation, immersive technologies, health and safety, pedagogy, and aesthetics. And there are currently around 50 ongoing projects with a number of partners, including industry partners, circus and other entertainment companies, and universities as well. Just to highlight a few, Urgence Rurale 360 was a project led by Julie Thieberge in collaboration with the Seven Fingers. So this was also an arts-based knowledge translation project that took some of the qualitative research on challenges in accessing emergency services in rural areas and created a circus performance in conjunction with a little conference to present the results. Ecosystem is a project by Geneviève Dupéré. So she created an aerial apparatus that is on the St. Lawrence River, and she's using this apparatus and aerial acrobatics to transpose scientific data about the St. Lawrence ecosystem, so marine biology data. And then myself and Marion Cossin led a project called Audience Engagement in Hybrid Performances. So in this project, we gave audience members a little sensor on their finger that recorded physiological signals as they either watched a live performance or a virtual reality performance or took part in a more immersive interactive performance experience. But I'd like to talk a little bit more about my current focus at CRITAC. So this is a project that I'm doing with the BIAT Lab as well as BRAMS at the Université de Montréal, and it's supported by MyTax and CRITAC. And the question is really about how we can communicate embodied knowledge. So this is a question that came up during Peace of Mind. How can we better convey experiences that are difficult to put into words? And in the case of Peace of Mind, this was primarily focused on the experiences of Parkinson's disease and dementia. And I believe that in the performances, I hope that we succeeded in putting some of these invisible aspects of Parkinson's disease and the way that it affects the body onto the stage through the arts. So here, for example, we have Anne, who lives with Parkinson's, who is controlling the movement of one of the performers to convey one of the struggles that she has on a day-to-day basis. But during Peace of Mind, I also recognized how much similarity there was in how circus performers were thinking about their bodies and movement, and how someone with Parkinson's was thinking about their body, and the difficulty in being able to put that into words. What is lost in translation? So for my next project, I'm really interested in both the context of Parkinson's disease, so a progressive motor condition, and circus arts, so a very specialized motor expertise. I'm interested in this question of what aspects of an embodied experience are lost in translation, and how can we develop multimodal or multisensory solutions to communicate these more directly. So this is really a co-design project in which we'd like to design quote unquote experience prototypes. So that could be immersive technologies such as virtual reality or a wearable technology that directly simulates or transmits sensory motor information. And the goal of developing these experience prototypes, both of Parkinson's disease and of circus, is firstly for empathy, so the ability to really step into the shoes or the skin of another person, but also for knowledge transfer. So for example, when you're teaching a handstand, what information is lost in translation verbally that we could convey in a multisensory manner, as well as in a clinical context, what information do clinicians currently not have access to because it's really difficult to communicate. And then also in the context of the circus arts, we see potential here for creating immersive experiences. So immersive performances where the audience members have a bit more direct access to what the circus artist is experiencing as well. And with that, I would like to thank you, and I would also really like to thank the Peace of Mind team. So, all of the performers, the participants in the projects, the musicians, everyone who has really made this come together. I'd also like to thank Dr. Stephanie Blaine Marias, my supervisor in the BIAP lab, who trusted in me to do this project, and my co supervisor, Dr. Aliki Thomas. And then, of course, all of my colleagues at CRITAC. So, primarily Patrice Aubertin, Emmanuel Bauchu, and Marion Cossin, who have helped me a lot to imagine this new project and bring it to life. Thank you very much.